So we're into turn 2. It's the Arts of War phase. Both sides now get to turn up 2 event cards. Teutons go first. Their first card is Bountiful Harvest. Immediately remove 1 ravaged marker from Livonia or Estonia. Well, there aren't any, so that's a waste. The second card, Famine. This campaign, Russian supply adds maximum of 1 provender per command from seats, and forage adds none. So that's interesting. So Bountiful Harvests, though not useful on one side of the border, but Famine has struck on the other. Varying weather conditions. So that's going to hamper the Rus' ability to supply. Now the Rus play their 2 events. First one, no event. Second one, well, what do you know, Famine. This campaign, Teutonic supply adds maximum of 1 provender per command card from seats, and forage adds none. So it looks like the famine has spread from east to west. The farmers have had a tough one, and it'll be interesting to see what impact that has on the forthcoming campaign. So it's the pay phase. Now if we look up here, we can see that Yaroslav's marker is in the turn 2 box, which means that if we do not pay him pretty well immediately, he is going to leave the campaign and head home. Now the only way we can do that is Herman, who has some coin and is in the same space as Yaroslav, and I mean there's no need to pay him. We could just let go of Yaroslav, but I think he's going to be needed in the forthcoming campaign. So Herman spends that coin, and Yaroslav's marker is moved on. He gets another turn's action, but that may be the end. We may be saying farewell to him at the end of this turn. So it's time for the Teutons to muster. Yaroslav, he begins. We're just going to give him an additional cart. It's going to help the transportation when he hooks up with Herman. Knut and Abel, they too take, to begin with, a cart. They also muster one of their vassals, who brings a knight and a man-at-arms. That's plenty of armour they've got there. They look quite a formidable force. They're also going to play the cogs capability. That's going to double up the capacity of their ships, which is going to help their movement across the Baltic Sea. Next up is Herman. He too just going to add to his transport, but then he's also going to take a couple of capabilities. He's going to take the Ballistari crossbowmen into his ranks, useful targeting armour, and also the trebuchet abilities and capabilities, which will provide an advantage when trying to assault the fortified walls at Pskov. And finally, Andreas von Felben. He too needs some transportation. He's only got boats for now. He's now going to be moving inland. So for 2 of his lordships, he acquires 2 carts, and he also calls on one of his vassals, who brings 2 extra troops. He could have gone for this more powerful vassal here, but that would have meant he would have had 7 troop pieces, which would have required 2 pieces of fodder to feed them when they move. At 6, which he now has, that is not a problem. They will only take 1 piece of fodder. Now the Russians are going to muster. Vladislav is going to take the stone Kremlin capability, see if there's time to build the walls of Kybalovo, and he musters one of his vassals, just another troop. Gavrilo, he's going to muster 2 of his vassals, fill up as many people in Pskov as possible, and the Streltsy crossbowmen, And finally, Domash, he takes another boat and plays the archbishopric capability that applies to all Russian lords, giving them all an extra turn if they start in Novgorod. We now come to the call to arms phase. So the Teutons at this point can utilise William of Modena. One of the ways of using him is to place him on the board at one of the 4 archbishoprics that are on the map. One of those happens to be Lille up here. Once on the map, he can auto muster a lord who is ready if he is at their home castle. And you can see that there he is. He's at Heinrich's castle. Heinrich is ready to muster, so we place Heinrich on the board, and we're going to put his placemat out and populate that in a moment. The Russian muster, I beg your pardon, call to arms allows them to use their Black Sea trade capability to add an additional coin, so they're up to 2 coins. Again, that will be useful in paying lords to stay on if they were thinking of leaving.